good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are joining us from. We are delighted that you have joined us for this webinar where we'll be discussing some of the hidden struggles of women in research. And for this particular session, we'll be discussing work-life balance and burnout. This webinar is brought to you by the Women in Global Health Research, the Africa Women Advancing Knowledge and Equity in Global Health Research, and the Global Health Network at the University of Oxford. My name is Christine Kirima, and I am the Regional Manager for Africa at the Global Health Network. I'll be the chair for today's webinar, and I'll be supported by Goodness Odey, who will be serving us as moderator. Without any further ado, I would like to welcome our keynote speaker for today, Dr. Ruth Mbugua. She is a dean and a senior lecturer at the School of Health Sciences at Mama Ngina University. She is a public health specialist, and her research uses community-based interventions to improve cancer literacy and reduce health disparities. She has secured multiple research grants, supervised numerous MSc and PhD projects, and she's also authored over 30 peer-reviewed publications, including very recently a book chapter on cancer literacy in Africa. Dr. Mbugua also serves as a lead consultant on women in global health projects at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and also contributes to global policy reports and holds leadership roles with Women in Global Health Kenya, as well as the Integrated Cancer Research Foundation and the Kenya Red Cross Society. A massive welcome to you, Dr. Ruth. We can't wait to hear from you. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Christine, for the kind introduction. I really appreciate. Yeah, so I'm so excited to join in and share today's conversation, which is very pertinent to me because as a woman in research, I know the struggles that I've been going through. And I know that the women who are here today, we share a lot in common. And I would say that indeed, I'm really excited to be here to share this topic, and also so that we can learn from each other as colleagues, as researchers, because as women, we have unique challenges that we need to support each other so that we navigate these career pathways. Indeed, I'm so excited to be here today just to tackle the topic for today, the reality of work-life balance in research. And I'm so grateful for this, being invited today to participate in this. I'm so excited, and I'm looking forward to hearing the conversation from the rest of the women, and also the engagement from the audience who will share with us also the experiences and maybe any questions that they may actually have. So basically, for me as a woman in research, I would say that the intersect of work and personal life actually presents a very critical area for working women because we find that having that work-life balance is actually not easy. And if you look at definition of work-life balance, basically what we are saying is that we are expected to have absence of conflict between professional and personal life, where you are able to strike a balance between the two. How real this is a discussion that will continue as we continue engaging with each other. So basically to say is that work-life balance enhances motivation, it enhances job satisfaction, as well as productivity of a person in whatever career it is that you are in. And of course, being women, and I believe that the challenges we face are very similar in many ways. Then we could actually see that even from literature that exists, burnout rates are higher amongst women in comparison to men, for obvious reasons that women face very unique challenges, what we actually call the gender-based constraints. And we see that the way a woman is positioned in society, she's expected to fit in just like the man, but the truth of the matter is that there are so many issues, intersecting factors that actually surround this woman. And of course, ultimately, they do have impact on the life of this person. So just looking at work-life balance, and for me, I put it in quotes because at this level, I've been in research for quite some time. I've been a researcher for the last approximately 15 years, and also been in academia, being in leadership, having a family, having young children. So I would say for me, the work-life balance is a real issue for me. And I like to share that it's not been easy. And looking at what is expected of me, and also looking at, for example, at work, there's expectation. In academia, you know that research comes sort of like an additional kind of work that you have. And looking back at the family that you have and the responsibilities that you do have, and being from sub-Saharan Africa, specifically in Kenya, the patriarchal society that we are in, and we know very well that there's also responsibilities that go beyond your own family, there's relatives, you know. So all this can actually present a very challenging time for you as a researcher. And sometimes you might feel like you are getting a bit overwhelmed. And I like to share some experiences I've had, and some of the difficult times I've faced is when, for example, I was pregnant, transitioned into getting the baby, and having a small child, and balancing all this and coming back to work, and everything is waiting for you. And as you're aware, of course, most of the responsibilities will be taken up by other people. But as you come in, you find that the workplace expects you to function normally as you were before, yet you have additional responsibilities. And of course, a time when I was actually pursuing my PhD, it was quite difficult, having a quite demanding family, then coming into aspects whereby I also have maybe responsibilities in my broader family, like the extended family, sick people. Sometimes you could have a sick child. So I would say the experience it's not been easy at all. So I would say work-life balance for women in research, and specifically those who are in academia, I would say that it is quite a big challenge. And of course, we see the intersections that are there between the gender roles, the social power relations of gender. And of course, all these have got impact in regard to how we are able to function. And looking at the experience for women across, I would say in different sectors, whether just within research or across maybe within the health sector itself, the experiences they kind of mirror each other, because these gender-based constraints will cut across. And I will say that looking at the representation we have for leadership, maybe in academia, in research organizations, then it's very evident that we have male dominance. And this could be attributed to some of these things that we are talking about. So as women transition through the various stages of their life, starting off in their early career as a researcher, then you find that there are leaky pipelines whereby some women will drop off at stages. And of course, this gives men an upper hand. So typically we could say that women are actually facing what we call the glass ceilings, in quote, and while the men get the glass elevators, meaning that they are able to move up the ladder very fast, even in professions which you find that the females are dominating, you still find that leadership still goes to the men, because they have what we call the male bonus syndrome, whereby they stand a better advantage than the women. So these issues are real, and work-life balance, as we discussed today, I don't know how realistic it is for us as women, or whether we just have to look at what we have, try to integrate life together with our work, and ensure that at least none of the balls that we have actually falls off. So I just tried to have this conceptual framework that really depicts what we have that is going on. Looking at what we have there, we have two people, there's a male and a female. These two people are walking towards the same pathway. But looking at the female, there's so many intersecting factors. Look at the social power relations, look at the micro level, at the individual level, societal norms are there, individual factors that could be affecting this woman, traditional gender roles which are there for her that actually gives the man an advantage. And these people are supposed to go through this pathway and get from junior level, get to early career level, mid-level, and transition upwards to the senior level. And of course, we also have the macro level context. This is the societal factors that we do have. Like in Africa, we are saying it's a patriarchal society where men are dominant, and therefore decision-making, of course, for women is actually affected. So looking at that conceptual framework, we could actually see what we are talking about, and this explains why we have the leaking pipeline, where some women will drop off at early career level, others at mid-career level, and when we reach at senior level, we find that ultimately there is going to be male dominance. So just to highlight on some of the issues in a very summarized way, we say that women face the dual challenge, that is balancing career and family. And of course, some of the individual barriers that women will face is things like imposter syndrome. There you are so qualified, fit for the job, but you're still feeling inadequate because you're female. And also looking at the motherhood penalty that is very real. Some of us have actually faced that, where you lose opportunities because probably you are pregnant, you are having a child, or you have a family that is very demanding. So as a person, you voluntarily decide not to take up opportunities just because of that particular reason. Then generally limited resources and time for women. So if you have much of the time that has to go to the domestic chores that you have, as well as extended family responsibilities, then it means that you are left with less time than our male counterparts. Again, institutional barriers, they are affecting women, the work culture. Like myself in academia and of course across the research spectrum, we know that the key currency in research is actually high impact publications. How many grants have you been able to attract? And of course, we know the research grants have tight deadlines, they are time consuming. So look at this woman with all those competing activities and how will she be able to match up to all this? The culture for publish and perish, also a phenomena that is actually affecting women's work-life balance, because really when you're told it's either you publish or you perish, that is much pressure on you. So do you go ahead and spend all your time after work looking for grants, writing papers, or do you take care of your family and other needs that you do have, as well as other responsibilities that you do have? Then again, looking at the culture, specifically in academic research, this is considered additional work responsibility. So this woman who is already having extra responsibilities and now with an extra one that is more demanding, so this may actually create a lot of imbalance. Male dominance in research, this is not new to us. Across the entire health sector, we have done research. This is something we have the evidence with us. We know very well that there's male dominance with senior leadership being occupied by more men. And as you go downwards towards the lower levels, you find that that is where we have the bulk of the women. And of course, this makes women to get less recognition, and there's also exclusion from opportunities because the people who are making decisions are actually not women. Looking at policies, a lack of policies that support women advancement. And indeed, I hope from this meeting, we'll be able to champion and have policies that actually recognize that women are different from men. And looking at things the way they are, we can say that the default researcher is actually appears to be a man and not a woman. And yet the woman has to fit into that setup. So it is quite difficult. A lack of gender transformative leadership. Really, we need from top, bottom, all levels of leadership. This needs to be embraced, awareness, so that people can be able to understand that women are different from men. They need a lot of support. And of course, it means that if we need this to be a conversation that is across all levels, then we have to have women well represented in this, so that we have leaders who are who have more empathy for women. They understand what the women go through, and of course now support them through the policies which are put across in the institutions. Again, looking at access to funding, for you to conduct research, you need to secure funding. Very important is collaborations that you're going to establish. Looking at women, if you have small children, your mobility is actually really a big barrier, because you cannot move. For example, maybe there are conferences, there are networking sessions you miss because you have to be with your family. Then looking at men and women and comparing, of course, we can see that women have a weaker social capital, and of course, they tend to have less influential networks. And therefore, when it comes to, of course, when we are securing our grants, we require to have a collaborative team. so that we convince the person who is funding that we actually have a team that is all inclusive. So you find that this gives men an upper hand because they are able to get these collaborative teams and network very quickly. And of course, that means that most of these funding opportunities will end up getting to the male counterparts. Again, looking at the funding of organizations, most of them are gender blind. They may not recognize the unique needs of women, and therefore the deadlines set are quite tight. The requirements put in there, they may not really work for the woman because the organizations are also headed by males, and also there is male dominance across all the levels of leadership. So cultural barriers, patriarchal society norms. Of course, we know that like in Kenya here, men are considered as decision makers. And therefore, this may lead to lack of support for spouses. Of course, support is very important. And then, of course, this also discourages women from leadership positions because they have been cultured to know that a leader is a man. Again, traditional gender roles, women being considered as caregivers, and of course, managing household duties, which means that sometimes they even voluntarily decline to take up positions or to engage in research because they have to spare that time for their family. So just looking at this, what we have here is maybe to tell us, as we look at all these gender-based constraints that these women are facing, it is evident from research that you can see from the leadership that we have, look at where we have academia, where most of research occurs, where we have health and global health organizations and boards, look at the representation of women, quite a concern. And of course, this means that we have male dominance across, and therefore passing some of this information becomes a bit difficult. So just to introduce a topic for today, burnout. So burnout is real. And I will say that, of course, one time or another as a woman, you will feel overwhelmed balancing all these things that you have to juggle so that you have a work-life balance. And of course, the World Health Organization categorizes burnout as an occupational phenomenon, meaning that it's not really a disease, but it's actually a syndrome that will affect you, mostly when you get exposed to overwhelming stress for a long period of time. And of course, from the ICD-11, we have the 3 criteria that have been put across for burnout. That is feeling of energy depletion or exhaustion. Then you could also have increased mental distance from your job, feeling negative towards your job, and then also a sense of ineffectiveness and lack of accomplishment. And this is actually may not be the reality, but it is just a sense that you get that you are not accomplishing. And of course, now this becomes a cycle. When you see that you're not achieving, you tend now to even work harder. As you work harder now, the burnout now leads you to actually getting worse than you were. And of course, we can say that striving to achieve work-life balance may contribute to burnout. Because for me, I feel achieving this work-life balance is a discussion we can have and ask ourselves, how real is it? Are we able to really have a work-life balance? And to me, I would say integration, ensuring that what needs to be done is done. And of course, ensuring that you are safe as a person so that you don't put so much pressure on yourself so that to ensure that everything is right. Just ensuring what you're able to do, you are actually able to do. So effects of burnout. So definitely, as you experience burnout, as we have explained it, then you'll find that ultimately it starts to affect you as a person, your personal life, your well-being, your relationship at home, at work, even in wider society, where you are such a friendly person, all of a sudden you become very irritable, unable to accommodate other people. And of course, we are saying that this burnout, if left unattended, over the time you continue exposing yourself and the cycle continues where you're feeling like you're not having the work-life balance, you stress yourself to try and achieve it, then the burnout continues and continues. So with time, you find that you might expose yourself to mental conditions. Specifically, anxiety might set in, panic disorder, as well as depression. And of course, looking at the effects of burnout on your direct responsibilities where you work, withdrawing from responsibilities because you have that negativism, you don't feel like working. You feel like work is not where you belong. So there's loss of motivation, inability to meet deadlines. Then, of course, inability to collaborate. In research, you have to collaborate. So if this happens, then it means actually you have actually sidelined yourself. So again, as this continues, you find that you are lacking motivation, there is no job satisfaction, your visibility starts diminishing, and then ultimately your productivity as a woman. So ultimately, burnout affects career progression. And for most of the women, if they reach to that level, the option they have majorly is basically to drop out. Somebody might have been doing so well in their career, but because they are going through a phase where maybe there's a lot of demand from home, maybe a sick child, maybe a spouse who is sick, maybe you have a new child, there's a new job and all that. So most women might opt to just step down or even resign from the job. And of course, this now affects career progression. And this could be maybe the explanation why we are still having so many men at the top, whereas women have really achieved a lot in terms of their qualifications. We have lots of PhD holders at this level, and also the ones who have pursued up to the master's level. So what strategies do we adopt? So I just put this very simply because there's a lot that can be done, but I'll just share my own experience. I've redefined what is work-life balance, and it has worked for me. So I don't have to be perfect in everything. So I learn also to relax. Sometimes you come to work, there's this that is required. You're writing a concept, you are given a short deadline. There's also other competing tasks. There's also your family. So I've learned to define work-life balance in my own terms where I have to do what I have to do, and I'm happy with that. I don't have to surpass. I don't have to please anyone. I just work with what I have. Again, support networks, very important. I've had so many mentors who are females. So right now, there are people I'm looking up to. They are my mentors. I talk to them frequently, and they do hold my hand. And through that, I'm able to navigate this journey that is not very easy for me. Mentorship programs, yes, I've also joined quite a few. Peer networks for support. I'm also a member of Women in Global Health, where as women, we meet frequently and we share our experiences. And of course, through that, I've gained a lot of energy from that and encouraged myself and found that I'm not the only one who's facing those challenges that I have. And of course, family support. I've relied a lot on my siblings, my spouse, and my parents. And then also at work, during times when when I'm having a small baby, I would negotiate for working hours, whereby I would come in late sometimes, maybe leave a bit earlier. And then of course, days when I don't have a meeting, I would negotiate to be away. And it has actually worked for me. Then also something else that could be applied that I have used as a person is using my career breaks to my advantage. Remember, we are saying in academia, for example, it's either you publish or you perish. So whether you're on maternity leave, you're pregnant, this has to continue. So I've found myself, like during my maternity break, using a caregiver to take care of the baby as I take a few hours just to write something. And it has worked for me. The other aspect is just basically having a collaborative network whereby you have people who check on you. There's common things that you share, and I like the platform we have today, and I do hope that this is not the end, that we are going to have many more of this, so that we continue this conversation and support each other as women. So coming down to the institution, really, I would say that flexible work arrangements really would support women, allowing women to have remote working from home when it's not necessary for them to be at work, part-time work arrangements during critical times when somebody has just resumed from maybe a maternity leave. It is never easy. People expect you to join in seamlessly, but that's not the reality. You need time to settle. You need to balance issues in terms of settling even the young baby and also yourself, and also now coming back to the usual person that you have been before. And of course, supportive resources like lactation rooms, childcare facilities at the workplace, these ones would be a win for women and allow them to be comfortable at work and also continue executing their roles as they play other roles which are required of them. And of course, change of work culture. So we need a lot of empathy. We need leadership that is supportive and leadership that actually recognizes that it is not really about going out for the output, but also looking out at the well-being of the employee, because at the end of the day, if they get burnout, then of course you're also not going to get the results that you really do expect. So I do look out for a time when I'll not be assessed by how much research have I brought to the university, but how much am I trying as a person with what I have at that particular time. And then, of course, equitable access to professional development opportunities. So this one should be put across. And of course, in institutions, the policies that are put across are what will actually guide. And of course, we are saying when we have women across all levels of leadership, then of course it means championing for this becomes much, much easier. I found myself at my institution fighting for a lactation room because I feel that these women need to be supported. And sometimes when you share with our male counterparts, they tell you, we didn't even know that a lactation room is actually so vital, or it can affect the output from a person. So these are real things, and it's important for us as we start this conversation. And I'm happy that we have started here, that we'll also be able to reach out to more women and have several of these conversations so that somebody does not feel like they're the only one who are struggling, because it affects all of us in one way or the other. So actually today I'm so delighted to be here, to be given this opportunity. And I'm really grateful to the Global Health Network for giving me this opportunity. And I do hope that even the people who are on the call, I say for the women, you are mentored to mentor. So please mentor another person. If you have been mentored, look out for them, and let's bring the change that you want to see in the organizations where we are. Even if you keep talking, one day it shall be done. Yeah, so let's not give up in our fight for this. So just to thank all of you for listening to me, and I hope as we continue the conversation, we continue learning from each other. Thank you so much. Asante sana. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing, Dr. Ruth. We could listen to you all day. Thank you so much for putting it into words, these challenges that we face on a daily basis, but we're just not open about it. So thank you for setting the stage for us. Who'll be helping us to further explore some of these practical strategies that we can pick up and put into practice immediately, understanding how we can avoid the very real risk of burnout when our work becomes overwhelming. And for this session, I'll be inviting Goodness Odey. She'll be a moderator for the session. So Goodness, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Christine. And this panel discussion just builds beautifully from the very powerful and realistic keynote address from Dr. Ruth. And hopefully, at the end of this panel session, we would be able to learn practically how, as women in research and global health, we are dealing with either the myths or reality of work-life balance. I have before me amazing women who are doing great work in their field of practice. I'm going to do a quick round of introduction, and then we'll dive into the discussion. So we have on the panel Dr. Victoire KONDI, who is a climate scientist at AIMS ROIC. We also have Lolem Ngong, who is the Chief of Staff at AMRIF. And we have Ritah Anindo, who is the Executive Director of Community Voices Network. And with that, I would be employing my three panelists to share with us in rounds what in their perspective has been their personal experience navigating their career as a woman in global health research. So we're happy to start with Lolem. Thank you.
I was actually hoping you won't start with me so I could really appreciate and recover from Ruth's excellent presentation. So let me first start by thanking the Global Health Network. I just ditto what Ruth said about this being a really pertinent um, discussion and one that shouldn't die after this. So thank you, and thank you for inviting us. I'm really looking forward to hearing views. Some of the questions that came in ahead of time were just really good questions, and hoping we address those as we go along. So in relation to how I have navigated a career in, I would say, global health, because I did move away from research after about maybe, I think, 7 years of being in research. I long navigated away from research, but I still keep a foot into research just because I'm naturally quite curious about things. But if I can offer my personal experience from a global health or international health, public health, whatever you want to call it, perspective. I would group it into preparation. And then the second one is what Ruth mentioned, which was seeking out mentors, and then a third, having your tribe. And when I talk about preparation, I'm not talking about, the amassing a whole bunch of degrees and, taking on every course known to man under the sun. For me, what I did was I really focused on building my soft skills. Because I found that when you're in research, and my field of study was epidemiology, I found that when you're in these in very cookie cutter research lanes, what tends to happen is that it's quite easy to forget that you need quite a myriad of soft skills to make sure that you're present in the room, make sure that you're able to assert yourself. So for me, a lot of the soft skills that I focused on were around communication. And I worked really hard on practicing being present and practicing, body language, presentation. And it's something that I continue to work on. And I know, it sounds very, very, very trivial even to think of practicing how you position yourself and even thinking about just how you communicate and who you're communicating to. I also built my skills around critical thinking. That way I remained curious outside of my career path. And then that helped me also with problem solving, thinking outside the box, having just a different perspective. And I think that keeps you relevant. And it's so important for us as women to have these soft skills. I think those keep you relevant, those keep you in the room. Those also ensure that when you assert yourself in the room, you're asserting yourself with quite a lot of weight behind you. In terms of seeking mentors, and Ruth went into this, I just think that um, I have fantastic mentors. I'm quite jealous that Ruth enjoyed a number of mentors who were female. All of my mentors have been men. And in the beginning, I was actually intentional about seeking men mentors because I wanted to learn from them why they stepped into a room and could take up the whole room, even if they weren't as smart as the woman who was in the room. So I wanted to learn that skill. I wanted to just grow that type of charisma so that when I step into the room, I'm learning from them. So I was intentional about seeking out men mentors. And then over time, even when I tried to find female mentors, for some reason, I've always gravitated towards male mentors. So I'm not advocating seeking out male mentors. I'm just saying that's my story. But the bottom line is that it's very important to have mentors. So as you invest in your own growth, and in my case, soft skills, it is extremely important. And this actually goes for women who are in more senior roles. It's very important to also bring people along. It is our responsibility to reach back and bring young women to the table, give them the confidence, mentor them, throw them into the fire, baptism by fire, and see them grow. That's extremely important. The third thing I'll touch on, and Ruth also mentioned it, is around creating your tribe. Some people call it the kitchen table. And if you've read Michelle Obama's book, Becoming, she talks a lot about her kitchen table. And that kitchen table is so important because they're your source of truth. And for me, I know that was extremely important as I navigated my career. They were my source of truth. They were the ones who told me about opportunities. I remember my first really major opportunity in global health was through a friend who was part of my kitchen table. And she really walked that journey with me, from preparing my resume, from practicing interview questions, from negotiating my salary. So that kitchen table was very, very important for me to grow. These are also the people who you can co-publish with. They're the people that you can write research grants with. So I think being very deliberate on who sat around my kitchen table has been extremely helpful. And those group of women have changed over time. So the ones that were important for me when I was practicing as purely as an epidemiologist are not the same ones that I now use in my role. And they evolve over time, and so it's really important to definitely, one, have your kitchen table, seek out mentors, and please, please, please grow your soft skills. Back to you, Goodness.
Thank you so much for that very practical insight, diving into your career as a woman in global health and leadership. I am very curious to hear the story of Dr. Victoria.
Okay, so thank you very much. First of all, I really wanted to thank the Global Health and Network for inviting me to be able to be part of this distinguished panels with those great women, and also hearing from my peers, panelists. I think it's really motivating. And I think for me, if you do allow me, what I would just come quickly is just give a brief summary on how I've been able to navigate to the climate science field, and also maybe then it will really give the room to set up how I've been able to navigate this pathway, considering basically this topic of the burnout and so on. So basically for me, from my accent, you can figure that I'm from a French-speaking country. And then basically, shifting in a research area where basically, as our the president, the first panelist was mentioning, to be able to to keep on track on publishing, and also maybe still being a researcher was not very easy for me. So firstly, my career pathway as a climate scientist deeply come up from my master degree thesis, who was like a distinguished climate scientist, a man as Lolem also mentioned. I also in me some kind of potential that at that time I didn't, I was not able to see in myself. And then also encouraged me to pursue this field, which was at that basically dominated by women, because we rarely find some kind of role models as women in those fields. And then I think from that, he also believed that I'll be able to become like a mentor to some also future generation and other people to maybe also follow up my the career pathway. So I think this really encouraged me to take this field as a climate scientist, and also to be able one day also to today to also share my experience. So basically my work focus on linking the climate change with the global health challenge, but particularly, looking at how the impact of climate hazard, for example, affect the outdoor workers' life. So talking about climate, you will see that basically I will be linking on, running a lot of models that are normally supposed to be run on supercalculated, some kind of calculators on a small laptop that can take maybe some kind of maybe a week to run. And sometimes when you run it, you find yourself not really like finding the result that you really want, or maybe spend some time, a lot of time, on doing research, and at the end, you're not able to get the result that you were expecting. So I think this navigating, in this kind of career of global health and climate research as a woman has been, as I can say, both for me rewarding and also challenging. And then like in my earlier journey, as I was saying, I spent like a long hours, deeply trying to engage and find time to resolve this kind of complex climate modeling, getting a solution. Sometimes I don't get any, as I was saying, and also sometimes this kind of technical demands that are basically coupled with this kind of international collaboration with a lot of people. So I think for me, I try sometimes, as the others were saying, to get motivation on this idea that I really wanted to contribute to the decision-making process in Africa. So this was basically something that really gave me the strength to continue doing what I like doing. Alongside also, I also got encouragement from a lot of mentors that I've been like blessed to have. And as Lolem was saying, most of them was men, basically. And then the few female mentors that I also got also supported me. And I'm also blessed to have a family that always like beyond to push me, to encourage me to as a young scientist to carry on this pathway. So I think even during some time that I feel like burnout, maybe spending a lot of hours or waking up feeling mentally tired, I learn how to be a little bit resilient. As you were saying, so talking with my mentors, getting from them a support, a guidance on how to come out from this burnout. Also spending time, doing physical exercise, because I am also part of a hiking team that allowed me to hike. So I hike a lot, and also do some kind of jogging that also keeps me at some time my mental health well. And I also like singing. Basically, if you hear from me, I do have a stutter. So this is also some kind of burnout situation that sometimes that I feel, because when I used to talk everywhere around the world. So sometimes when I talk, I may go fast, or I can even find myself stuck in the middle of discussion when I can't say anything. But I know what I want to say, but my tongue cannot allow me to say anything. So, and then you see people can start at some point laughing at you. So those, as a scientist, it can be another type of frustration. But I think I learned to believe in me that, okay, this is some kind of handicap that I have that are not linked to my personal life and then my personal capacity to be able to deliver. So when it's come, I tell people, I have stutter. I don't know how to talk sometimes, then it can cut off. But please, when it comes, be calm. I will just get back and then I will explain. So I think all those things have at some point helped me to have self-confidence. I think people also think that self-confidence may be like to be too much proud, but in this kind of research area, I think sometimes the self-confidence also do allow you, to trust yourself, to trust that you do have capacity to provide, but also not forget that you can also, as our keynote speaker was saying, you have to collaborate with people, your peers, but always keep in mind that have mentors, trust yourself, find time to do exercise. If you like hiking like me, please hike. If you like jogging, please find time to joke. If you like, you also like singing,
Absolutely.
find time to sing to be able to balance this this life. Thank you.
The word is finding the time to do those things that can help you have a life in the middle of the work. Thank you so much for sharing, Dr. Victoria. Those strategies are very key. And I want to believe that in many ways it answers some of the questions we have in the Q&A, or how you figuring this out, how you managing this. These are real women who are sharing just how they are going by integrating their life with work and thriving through their career in the middle of this. I'm going to move right on to Ritah for us to hear a bit of her story. We do not have so much time, but in the mix of that, it would be great to also hear from you, Ritah. What are some of those barriers that, in your experience, many women researchers face in achieving work-life balance? So yeah, let's hear from you, Ritah. Thank you.
Okay, quickly starting with my story. Thank you so much to Lolem, Dr. Victoria, and Dr. Ruth. That was very inspiring and quite, making me think through so many other things. So my work, particularly in research, is focused on sexual reproductive health, mental health in underserved areas, focused on, for instance, parenting and pregnant adolescents and teen mothers, focused on refugee communities. So in working with this area, and also I also wear other hats. I'm an executive director. We also run like other innovations. I'm also in school. So that can really be overwhelming and it can be a lot. And also I'm just thinking through issues of work because you're talking about research and burnout and work, but then there are also other intersecting issues. For instance, sibling position, I'm a firstborn. So does that mean I have to be caring for other people? There's also the issues of personalities. I'm a type A personality, meaning that I am a workaholic already. So I have to work and work and work and work. And sometimes how I react to stress, my reaction to stress is to work or to immerse myself in work. So that, and for instance, you also need to talk about work stress. You're working in different spaces, and within these different spaces, you're holding different roles, limited resources, role conflict, work stress, and all that. How do you get to balance? So as a person, my background is in counseling psychology, and I found myself conflicting the role of a researcher and me as a counseling psychologist. How am I able to, what is the limit of my support? And that has predisposed me as a person to compassion fatigue. Most of us who are already in the space of helping careers, and in so many situations when you're in a trauma environment where people need help, how do you get to help them? How do you get to be able not to carry the trauma within that space and be able to balance your life? So those are some of the challenges I have experienced. How have I coped? I really like that Lolem mentioned about the kitchen table, and sisters, women have been of so much help to me. Women have helped me in difficult situations. When I've had career challenges, women have held my hand. When I've had I've had serious burnout in the past, women have held my hand. Women have guided me. I remember the very first time I had a serious breakdown, a woman held my hand and taught me a very important tool, the wheel of life. And that until today, I use it, and it's really been of so much help to me. Something else that has really been of help to me is therapy. I'm very intentional in therapy, might not be very regular, like weekly or anything, but then I find therapy being very supportive because I'm able to balance, I'm able to offload. You cannot pour from an empty cup. That has been very helpful. Self-care routine. Dr. Victoria was just mentioning about self-care. For me, I have learned, and we have a culture within our organization, something called digital detox. So you keep off your phone, and then you take a walk without your phone. And that has really been helpful in terms of meditating, listening to your body. What is my body telling me? So I'd like to respond to the second question. So because of the interest of time, and maybe you could remind me, Goodness, the question.
I think you have shared it quite. You've spoken about some of the barriers based on your field, and then you've also given us some insight into your story navigating work-life balance. So to a large extent, we appreciate your time. Unfortunately, we don't have so much time to dig in more into everyone's very enriching and empowering stories. But very quickly, Lolem, would like to hear from you. At the institutional level, what would you say are ways that institutions can better support women in research and leadership and global health to ensure work-life balance?
Yeah, thanks, Goodness. And the good thing is Ruth actually covered quite a number of these. And if I could, and both even Victoire and Ritah touched on this. I think if I could summarize it, I would say it boils down to to policy, to work policies, to work culture, and leadership. So if we remember from what my co panelists have shared, and our keynotes as well, when we talk about policies, these are policies that support, from inclusive leadership to a structure that makes that ensures that that women are taken into account and we're not just a token. And it even includes things like the composition of senior leadership, or if you're C-suite leadership. I mean, it's very jarring, as most people might know in this webinar. We just had there was just the announcement of the new Director General for WHO, the regional office for Africa. It's yet again a man. The WHO Afro office was established, I think, in like 1950 something. And since then, there's only been one female. So what are those policies that will improve structures so that they're really inclusive? When it comes to leadership, there are myriad of things. I mean, it goes from, the mentorship programs. How do we create a pipeline? How do we create these development opportunities? How do we ensure that there isn't what the phenomenon Ruth mentioned first time I heard it, the leaky pipeline? How do we prevent that? So those are things that institutions can do. And then culture-wise, it's really, thinking about this again, inclusive culture. Is there a safe space for women? I mean, we don't have time. I think in another webinar, just even addressing some of the workplace aggression and the sexual abuse that women undergo in the workplace. So, and then women are then charged with the responsibility of dealing with that or addressing it. So what are those, what kind of culture can organizations build where these sort of things, there's just zero tolerance? There's so much that we can unpack there, and I'm sure Ritah can, from her field of study, can help us unpack that. But Goodness is really around, those things that we must do in organizations to create a very healthy culture, and to recognize that the inclusion of women, and also addressing or trying to alleviate burnout, it's not a nice to do. It's not a nice to have. It's actually very critical for organizational growth, and it's very critical for having a healthy culture. I'll stop there. Thank you.
I can't agree less. I think it is the policies, it is the process, it's the practices. And I mean, in the way you say how we are sending the ladder down, or the policies are not allowing women to grow in their career or feel supported, as Dr. Ruth has rightly highlighted. Dr. Victoria, as a researcher, in 1 minute, please, because I need to hand over to Christine like now. But in 1 minute, what advice would you offer to early career women researchers who are facing some of these struggles, trying to thrive in their career and at the same time having to also get a life in between?
So I think if I can say believe in your unique contribution. Why? Because your perspective as a woman is really like can bring a good insight. Okay. And then don't let some kind of barriers bring some kind of self-doubt that can prevent you to reach your goals. And I can also say find mentors, as we all I'll be saying, who can see your potential and also support your growth as well. And also like to learn to build up some kind of network that can also allow you, or maybe encourage your knowledge and even help you to grow up. I can also say maybe also it's also important to set boundaries, and also learn to celebrate your small victories. I think this also will also allowed you to keep your mental health. I can also say, clear some kind of hours, to also have a personal time, as Ritah was saying. And then also don't hesitate to ask for resources, to ask for support, because we all are learning those. So don't let people intimidate you that, okay, you are not, when you are asking for support, when you want to hear from people, it means that you don't have capacity. No, but learn to know that that it's like a growing process. You may not find the result that you are looking for today, but just keep working. And when you're tired, please make a break, because life is very important. That's what I can say. Thank you.
When you are tired, take a break. Thank you so much. Ritah, please, in 1 minute, are you able to just give us a quick one on how that we can stay in the place of well-being, even as we are going through our careers, women in research, leadership, and global health? Thank you.
So this is to all women. You are a human before you're your job. You're a human before you're a parent. You're a human before you're a wife, before you're a student. So give yourself permission to rest. You deserve all the good things that life presents. Rest. Take yourself out. Before you treat your children, it's okay for you to think about yourself. Before you, as a boss, before you give to others, it's okay to think about yourself. Give yourself permission.
And this is a perfect way for us to wrap up this panel session. But this is just one of many more that we will be having in the Women in Global Health Research platform. And I'll be handing over to my colleague, Kristen, to tell us how to be part of this work. Thank you.
Amazing. I can't believe we've come to the end. It seems like we needed about another 2 hours. But I just want to say again, thank you so much to our panelists for sharing so candidly. I don't think these conversations are had enough. I don't think we speak about our challenges enough. And so we're hoping, and our mission here with the Women in Global Health Research is to bring this to realities and to have such sessions where we can share practical strategies on how to overcome them. So thank you so much to our panelists. On the screen, you'll see there's a QR code that you can scan, and that will take you directly to the Women in Global Health Research Hub, where you can sign up to have more updates on upcoming events. We'll be hosting a lot more of these, just trying to navigate the research space as women. So please keep an eye out for our events calendar that will be hosted on the Hub. Please sign up on the QR code provided. I don't want to take too much time in the spirit of trying to keep a work-life balance. I know some of us are, it's the end of the day for us. So I will close it here. And again, thank you so much for engaging with us. Thank you for your very insightful questions in the chat. We will seek and endeavor to respond to those and possibly post them on the Women in Global Health Research Hub. You will find them there as blog posts. So you'll have your responses to your questions posted on there. So again, just thank you so much to the team and to Louis, who's working in the background, providing updates on the chat, for supporting us with this. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Bye, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Louis.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Enjoy your weekend. Bye.